Hey, good morning everybody. This is Dan from Adventuring Today, and I didn't think I'd be making a video this morning. I'm doing a little bit of maintenance on the truck, just taking care of the seats, cleaning down the interior, putting away some tools, doing some reorganizing, and I thought, I'm gonna go check that water separator. So I climb underneath the truck, and usually I just use this little mason jar, and I fill it up with, just 10 ounces or so of diesel, and I've never seen any water in there. I've got about 21,000 miles on this thing, and and then I take the plug and I just squeeze it back on and we're good to go. Well, about 15,000 miles or so, I had my dealership just do an early change on the fuel filters, and I think what happened was my plug that came with the truck was broken by that dealership, and I'll show you why I think that. So these plugs have these little tabs on them. There's one here, and there's supposed to be one right there, but there's not. Here's a good one. See, there's one on that side right there. That one is missing over here. Not one there. We got one there. And so what I think what happened is maybe they were aware of it, maybe they weren't, but it got broken at the dealership because that plug came out so easy today when I started to drain the fuel out. In fact, I couldn't believe how easy it had come out. I have done this 2 times before. Usually try to do this about every 15,000 miles, or 5,000 miles. And today it was just so easy. So I think one of those tabs was broken, and it was just kind of just barely sitting in there. So after about 10 ounces came out, I try to close the plug on the water separator. Can't do it. And so then my mason jar started to get full. So then I had to run to the garage and grab that bucket right there until it was done, until the fuel was done coming out. So anyway, somebody on the Ford Truck Enthusiast Forum suggested that those of us that have the 6.7 Power Stroke diesel with this new separator, which was new in 2017, buy at least 1 or 2 of these backup valves. And I listened to them, and thank goodness I did, because it is Saturday right now, and I think I'd have a hard time finding one of those, and my truck's just going to be sitting here until Monday, and we've got to go get mulch today, and we've got to go get plants, and we're going to be using this truck for what it's designed for. So here's the part number. It's an HC3Z-9J305A. And you can buy these for, I can't remember exactly how much they cost, but I think I got 2 of them for maybe right around 20 bucks. I'm just guessing on that price, but I think that's about what it was. But I bought 2. Just with my luck, when I put this one in, it'll break, and then I've got another backup, because that's just the luck that I have. So I just got 2 backups. Once I install this one today, on Monday, I'm going to go and pick up another one, maybe from the dealership, or I might just order one also. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with everybody. These do break. I think this was broken when it was on my truck, and probably most likely broken by the dealership. They probably weren't aware, and I can't imagine they would let me drive away with a broken plug, but but maybe they would. Who knows? But it was fine in there for about 6,000 miles or so, and but boy, it sure popped out easy today and created what could have been a potential disaster for me. So whoever that was on the Ford Truck Enthusiast Forum, that was fantastic advice. Thank you so much, because you really got me out of a jam today. I appreciate that. And I just wanted to share this with anybody else out there who might be doing some of their own maintenance on their trucks and draining their own water separators. You got to have a backup plug. You just have to do it, because you just never know, and it's just cheap insurance. So anyway, so let's get underneath the truck here real quick, and we'll see if we can't get this reinstalled. So for those of you that have never done this before, this is where the water separator is. This is the device right here. It's actually really easy to change yourself. There's just a couple of screws around here. It slides out. It's a cartridge. You pop a new one in, you pop it back up. It's a really easy operation. But before you change out this water separator, you've got to drain this. You have to drain it, and that's what this plug is for. So This plug is really pretty easy to use. It slides in here. Try and do this with one hand, and you just line up the valves and you screw it in. You gotta find the right orientation to do it. Let's see, is that it right there? Nope. That could be it right there. So get it up like that. So that snapped it in, and that was the problem with mine. So see how this just sits in here? It's the first time I've replaced one, so I didn't want to break it. But this is how it's supposed to sit in here, is just like this. Mine would not screw back on. That's what just happened to me today. It just would not screw back on. But when you turn this counterclockwise, it should just sit loose like this, and the fuel will just drain out of this center hole right here. You can use a big bucket like this if you want. I like something clear so you can see through it and identify if you have any water in your fuel. So just a mason jar should do it. You could use a glass or whatever you want to use, but this should be a really simple operation if the plug's not broken. So you just turn it counterclockwise. It's okay if it's loose. It's the way it's supposed to work. And then fuel just drain right out, just like you see it doing right now. It's just a couple little drips, right? Then when you're done, you just turn it clockwise, and it snaps right back into place, just like that. And that is really secure. Now, you know, it's gonna be a little bit hard to turn to loosen it up, but there you go. And it loosens, all right? So that's the way it's supposed to work. And now it's locked again. Piece of cake, right? Easy to do. Anybody should be able to do this, but again, like we said a few minutes ago, you know, we highly recommend that you have a backup plug so that you don't run into a jam like I potentially could have run into today, or like other guys have run into with their truck. So be sure you pick up some of these backup valves. It can really help you out, get you out of a jam, but you've got to do maintenance on this water separator. If water gets through and gets into that engine, if you just happen to pick up a couple of tanks of bad fuel, or it can happen in one tank of bad fuel, if you get too much water in that water separator, you're looking at potentially $10,000 of damage to your rig, and Ford will not cover that. So this is a really easy thing to do, is this maintenance on this water separator. Just drain this out. Some guys do it at every oil change. I like to do a little bit more often than that. Some people do it at every fuel fill up. Typically those are people that have had one of these $10,000 repairs. I think personally it's a little bit overkill, but I only get fuel at the same 2 or 3 fuel stations each time, and for the most part, about 80% of my fill-ups are at the same couple of fuel stations, and so they're pretty reliable. I've never had problems with them, so I've got a lot of trust in those stations. But pick up one of these backup plugs, and I think it's probably pretty good advice for you. So, hey everybody, one more quick tip here as far as draining the fuel from your water separator. Now that you've done that, you have about 20 ounces of fuel that have been drained from that water separator, which means you have a huge open space of air in your fuel system, and you need to fill that back up with fuel. Well, how do you do that? You don't want to start the truck. Number one, you don't want to start the truck. If you have a key, then you just turn the key to the run position. If you have push button start like I do, you just want to push the start button on the truck, but in either case, do not put your foot on the brake. If you put your foot on the brake, the truck could accidentally start, and that's just going to cause problems for you by blowing all that air through the fuel system. So what we're trying to do now is just fill fuel into that water separator. It takes about 6 cycles in order to do that. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Again, if you have a key, you just go to the run position. You have a push button start, which is what I'm going to show you. You just push the start button, but you do not have your foot on the brake. If you do, the truck may start. Okay, so we're just going to push the start button.
Economic responses.
It's probably really hard to hear, but the fuel pump is running right now, charging the system. Okay, So I like to do that first one a little bit longer. So now we're going to come back in. We're going to turn the truck off, right? We're going to push the button again. So we're just back to the truck just not having electricity. The radio won't play or anything like that. Now we're just going to wait a couple more seconds. And then you probably could hear that that air pocket in the fuel separator filling back up, but we're going to do it a couple more times just to make sure that all the air is out of there. So now we're going to come back, going to push the button again, once again. So you can probably hear that, it's filling up. You can probably hear, if my camera's picking up on this, that air being squeezed out of the system. So now it's cycled back off again. Just gonna turn it back off. And I'm not gonna make you sit through me doing this for the next 4 times, but this is what we're gonna do for 4 more times, okay? So we wait a few seconds in between, push the button again. Again, no foot on the brake. If we come back down here, and each time we do that, you're gonna be able to tell that there's less and less air in that fuel separator. So this is the 3rd time that I've done it. I'm gonna do this 3 more times, and then I'm gonna start the truck. I'm gonna let it run for a couple seconds. I'm gonna get underneath there and look for any fuel that might be leaking, which I don't expect there to be, and then we are good to go. So anyway, hope that helps anybody that is looking to take on, you know, trying to protect their truck a little bit by draining their water separator on their own. I think it's really, really good maintenance to do, and it's something easy. If you like doing maintenance, it's, you know, this isn't like, you know, tougher jobs that you could be doing. It's relatively straightforward and simple, and it's good protection for your truck. Okay guys, one last pro tip for you on draining the water separator on your truck. So you can hear my truck running right now. I did the 6 cycles and everything is going great. There is no fuel draining out from underneath the truck. Everything is working great. And so this is what my fuel looks like. If you can pick up on this, I'm trying to hold it in the light. You know, there is no water whatsoever inside that fuel. There's no water whatsoever inside that fuel. It just looks like liquid gold in my mind. So one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to look at this and say, wow, look at that. There's no water in there. That just looks like pure gasoline. It's just come through a filter and looks as good as can be. I'm just going to put it right back inside my truck. Don't do that. Don't do that. This is probably, you know, I don't know what this is, 50 cents worth of fuel or something like that. Do not put that fuel back in your tank. You're just asking for trouble. You know, this water or this fuel has come through the system. It's not as safe as what you think it might be just to put right back inside your truck. If you change your own oil at home, just take this fuel, which is what I'm going to do here in a few minutes, and just pour it inside one of my storage tanks that I use for changing the oil. I'm going to drop it off at Walmart in a week or so, and they're happy to take it that way. So anyway, that's the way I would dispose of it. Maybe there's better ways out there to do that. That's the best way that I'd find, but what you don't want to do is you don't want to put it right back on your truck because you're just asking for trouble down the road. So anyway, enjoy. Hope that helps people out if they're looking to do a little bit of maintenance on their own. Changing the water separator, checking the water separator and draining potential water from there is a pretty easy job. Make sure you've got a backup plug for yourself just in case you run into some trouble. And everybody should be good to go. So have a good day. Thanks a lot.